Hello, my name is Gabby and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, then welcome to my channel, and in today's video, I am going to be doing my most disappointing books of 2019. So previous to this, I did my best books from 2019, and then I also did my worst books, and I will have both of those videos linked down below in the description if you want to check those out. So there's not going to be any honorable mentions today. My overall rating from last year was a 3.9, so I didn't have a lot to choose from for this list. So we're just going to keep going here, and let's get to the actual list now. So at number 10 on this list, I have Supernova by Marissa Meyer, and Supernova is the finale to the Renegades trilogy. So Renegades follows our main character Nova, who hates the superhero group known as the Renegades. She goes on a mission for vengeance against this group by infiltrating their operations. However, as she gets closer to her goal, she meets a renegade named Adrian, and these two become very, very close. However, Nova has an allegiance to a villain with the power to kill both of them. So Supernova was actually on my best of 2019 list, and it was actually pretty high up there too. But as I mentioned in that video, the ending of this book just really disappointed me, and it really hurts my heart to say that. And that feeling just really hangs over this whole book for me, no matter how much I love this series. If you don't know, Renegades is my favorite book of all time, and I really loved Arch Enemies too. I gave both of those 5 stars. I gave this one 5 stars too. Which is why this book is only at number 10 here, because there's just so much other stuff about this book and just the series in general that I love and adore. But that unfortunately doesn't completely cover up the disappointment I felt by the ending of this, but this book is like 500 pages and like, what, 50 of them were disappointing to me. So it's a very small part of it that I'm referencing here, but unfortunately that very small part of it is also the ending to the whole trilogy. It's really hurting me to put this book in this video, but my feelings for it just aren't enough to save this book from this list. So at number 9, I have Enchantée by Gita Trelease. By the way, I completely mispronounced this title the last time I talked about this book on my channel. I still don't completely know if I pronounced it right, but I think I'm a lot closer. So this follows our main character Camille after her parents are killed by smallpox, as she uses petty magic to transform scraps of metal into money to take care of her siblings. When her brother disappears with the family's savings, Camille has to try to get money from the court of Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette using dark magic. I love books that are set in France, and I was super excited to see that, and also like the dark magic that was present in here, but it just really bored me. And the romance, I tried to like it, I really did, but I just couldn't get into it. I wanted to like this book so bad, and I still want to, which is why this book made an appearance in my Books I Want to Give a Second Chance video, but it was just such a struggle to read when there was just so much that I should have loved about this. Maybe one day my feelings for this will change, but for right now I'm still just way too sad about it. So at number 8, I have Ace of Shades by Amanda Foody. So this follows our main character N, another name that I don't know how to pronounce, when her mother goes missing in the City of Sin, and our main character goes there to find her. It is there she meets our other main character Levi, who is a gang leader in the city who has his own troubles going on. The two strike up an alliance, and when Levi's enemies catch up to him, N will need to surrender herself to the city. So the sequel, King of Fools, is what is keeping this book from being higher on this list. I love books with casino settings, and I love books with like gangs. So when I found out about this book originally, I was super hyped for it, and when I finally got my hands on it, I thought for sure I was going to love this. I think the actual plot of this book really fell through for me, and also some of the characters and also the romance. I actually wasn't too mad at this book when I finished it, but the months that followed were not good for this book and I. And just everything about it really soured with me for some reason. I wasn't going to read King of Fools, but I ended up wanting to, and like I said, that sequel is what is saving this book for me. I don't even know what it is about this one, but I just have such bad memories associated with it. But this book just turned out to be just such a letdown in just so many ways. But I'm still excited for Queen of Volts though. That does come out soon actually. So at number 7 on this list, I have We Hunt the Flame by Hafsah Faizal. So this follows our main character who dresses herself up as a man in order to hunt for her village in the Cursed Forest. And then this also follows our other main character who is an assassin known as the Prince of Death. The forest is getting closer to taking over the whole land and just engulfing it in shadows, and our main character set off on a quest to find the artifact to stop it. So this is another book from that Second Chances video. I started off really liking this, and then we just went downhill. I do think that I just read this at the wrong time. I had a lot going on with school, and also I was in a little bit of a reading slump. This was just a hard one for me to read because I knew I had a good chance at liking this, and I was feeling that at one point in this book. And because I did like this book for like the first 100 pages, I really did think I was safe, but then the disappointment factor just came in way too heavily towards the end here. And knowing that I did start off liking this book is part of what made this book so hard for me to get through, or at least I hope that's what it is. Like I said, this is another one that may have a reread in its future, but for now it's going to be number 7. So at number 6, I have Red Queen and its sequel Glass Sword, both by Victoria Aveyard. So Red Queen follows a world where you either have silver or red blood. The silvers are the elites and the reds are the commoners. Our main character is a red Brigid, who finds herself working in the Silver Palace, where she finds out that she has a power for her own. It is there that she begins working with the Red Guard to try to take down the Silver regime. So these two books were mostly disappointing because all of the hype around them. I guess because I felt like I've known about these books for just so long now that I just built up a false idea in my head of what they were. And then there are also just like some plot developments in this series that are also something that I would consider disappointing. I'm still reading this series because I have zero attachments to anything here and I'm kind of just like along for the ride, which in a way is really comforting and relaxing, but overall I was just expecting like amazing things from this when what I actually ended up with was pretty average for me. So at number 5 I have Wayward Son by Rainbow Rowell. Wayward Son is the sequel to Carry On, which follows the Chosen One Simon Snow after his Chosen One story is over. He goes back for his last year at school and his nemesis roommate doesn't end up showing up. Carry On is one of my favorite books ever, so when I saw that it was getting a sequel, I was super excited about it. I even made Carry On like my first ever reread in preparation for this book. And there were still parts that I enjoyed about this, especially towards the beginning half, but the second half was just one big downfall for me. I feel like a lot of people feel this way too, like I don't think I have an unpopular opinion here. But I do think to truly know my feelings on this book, I'm going to have a book 3 and I'm going to need like a lot of things fixed in that book 3. Going into this book, I thought it was like a lock for 5 stars, like I was 100% sure, but I guess I shouldn't have been. In the end, I just couldn't give it that rating though, but I still have book 1 and hopefully book 3 can redeem this one for me in the future, but I honestly don't know. When book 3 comes out, this one definitely won't be getting a reread, I'll just put it like that. So number 4 on this list I have Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. So this follows our main character whose father's inability to collect debts has left her family on the edge of poverty. So our main character decides to take matters into her own hands here and take back what she is owed. When she eventually draws the attention of the king of these like ice fae creatures, she is given a challenge that will accidentally draw in a peasant girl and also an unhappy daughter of a lord that wants to marry her off to the Tsar. However, the Tsar is not what he seems, and our main character and her unlikely allies have to go on a quest to stop him from consuming both of the lands of the kingdoms. So Uprooted by this author is one of my favorite books of all time. It was very high up on my best list. So going into Spinning Silver, I just had a very certain expectation of what to expect from the romance because that's what I mostly loved about Uprooted. And when I saw the romance in here just not really getting paid attention to as much, it just really hurt this book for me. Which the romance in Uprooted is like barely in there and barely focused on, but I feel like in this one it was focused on even less. The romance aside, I just couldn't get into the actual story for some reason, which made this book to be an insanely slow read. I just had such high hopes for this one because going into it I was sure I was going to love it, especially after I read Uprooted. I'm still going to read His Majesty's Dragon by this author because I do just love her stories. Like even this one, there is some part of it that I do really like. After reading this, I am just a little concerned about how I'm going to do with that, but hopefully it's fine. So at number 3 on this list, I have A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Brigid Kemmerer. So this follows Prince Ren, who was cursed by an enchantress to repeat the autumn of his 18th year. He thinks that all he needs to break this curse is to just have a girl fall for him, however that all gets turned around when he starts turning into like this vicious beast. And then this also follows our other main character Harper, who lives in Washington DC, where her life has never been easy from her dying mother to her brother constantly underestimating her due to her cerebral palsy. One day while she is trying to save a stranger on the street, she is pulled into the magical world. Ren and Harper meet and Ren begins to have some hope in regarding his curse, but powerful forces are standing against the kingdom and it's going to take more than a broken curse to save it. So this was actually on my worst books of 2019 too, so I've already covered this over there, so I'm going to keep this one short. Everything about the summary here just sounds amazing. It did before I read it and it still does now. I was hearing such good things about it too, which all combined together into me just absolutely thinking I was going to love this book. It's also a retelling and I love retellings, but this one just didn't work for me. I am more disappointed in this than I do not like it, which is why it's so high here and so low over on my worst books of 2019 list. I am just sad that I didn't get to experience that feeling and that love that other people get from this book, but I guess it just wasn't meant to be. So number 2, I have We Are the Ants by Sean David Hutchinson. So this follows our main character who is often abducted by aliens. One day the aliens give him a choice that if he presses the red button then the world will not end. He has 144 days to decide, however the only issue is that our main character isn't sure if he wants to press it. So this is just another book that just gets so much love, and that myself, I was was really expecting to love. And to be fair, I did still enjoy this, but I did hate the romance, and it just really put this book down for me. This just left me so emotionally drained while reading this, which is also something that happened with Sean David Hutchinson's other book, At the Edge of the Universe, which, by the way, content warnings in the description below. I do really like Sean David Hutchinson as an author. I find the writing to be very quick and very easy to read, and I find the stories to just be really creative. So I do have other books from this author that I do like that didn't disappoint me, but I was just expecting this one to just absolutely blow me away, and it didn't, so now I'm waiting for another book of his to come out and do that. So with that, my most disappointing books of 2019 are The Infernal Devices by Cassandra Clare. This takes place in 1878 and follows our main character Tessa as she enters the supernatural underworld in search of her missing brother. Her only allies are the Shadow Hunters Jem and Will, and they soon find themselves up against the Pandemonium Club, who is equipped with like these unstoppable clockwork creatures, and they're about to take over the British Empire unless Tessa and her allies can stop them. So this is a combination of a lot of things: the hype, the love triangle, and the fact that I was reading this alongside of the Mortal Instruments. I'm not a fan of love triangles, but I know what I'm getting into when I read a Cassandra Clare book, so I can usually deal with it, and in hindsight, this one honestly wasn't too bad. But Will really annoyed me as a character up until like the last book, which really hurt the story at the time while I was reading it. In terms of the Mortal Instruments, those books have a lot of flaws that I can easily recognize, but they were also just a lot of fun for me to read. And I didn't feel like I was having fun with these three, and since I was reading this universe in publication order, there was a time when I was just like alternating between the two series, and while I was reading these, I was just finding myself wanting to be over there more. But I have heard just so many amazing things about this series, and I was like using that as fuel to just like try to get through it. And the Clockwork stuff really was interesting and cool, which is another reason why I thought I would love this series. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think book 3 really belongs on this list because I actually did really enjoy it. So let's just give the #1 spot to these first two and call it a day. So that is going to be it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and answer the question that'll be around here if you want to do that, and hopefully I will see you here next time. Bye.